Hello my friends, welcome to the ground noise. Let's fool around with Vital again. In case you don't know what Vital is, it's a free software synthesizer and it's really good. Everybody loves it. So I already have made a few videos about Vital. Check out this playlist or just stay here and watch that other stuff later. So what's the plan for today? I've just created this very simple bass sound. And the idea is to create other sounds out of this one, like a pluck sound or a pad sound, without the use of effects. Simply by changing the envelope and the filter, it's totally possible to come up with different types of sound out of the same basic sound. And that's very simple to do. You can follow along if you want. But first, let's check out our universal bass sound here. I'm using two oscillators here. The first one is a sawtooth wave with two voices that are really close together with only 3%, which makes the sound very direct. And the second oscillator is this flattened out sine wave. This is a sine wave and this is the other one. And I only use this to add a little bit more bass to the sound. Let's go without the filter and check only oscillator 1. And together with oscillator 2, there's more bass going on. And I only send oscillator 1 to the filter. Of course, you can always set up the filters and the oscillators to your liking. I only want to give you a starting point to make things easier for you. And I highly encourage you to always follow your own taste. Okay, let's have a look at the envelopes. I have two envelopes going on here. The first one is the main envelope. It has immediate attack, a shortened delay and a little bit of release. I can shorten the release and you hear the difference of this little, what is it, a quarter of a second. It's now very short and dry. Now it has a little bit more body. And that's what I wanted here. And the second envelope has a slow attack to open the filter. Let's see if I can turn it down and if you can hear a difference. It adds like a frog sound to it, like whack, 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 whack. And I don't know about you, but I like frogs. They're very cute. Hello, autofocus, are you at home? I always have trouble with the autofocus, I'm sorry. But the reason I love to create bass sounds is because they are truly universal, like our universal bass. Of course, obviously they sound good in the lower register because they are made for the bass sound. But it's also a good idea to try them in the middle or higher register for chords, for example. Not bad, not bad. And very high for a lead sound, maybe. It's a bit thin, but we can change that in a minute. Let's start with a cool sound for a fast sequencer part, something like this. I only change the sustain, make it shorter, and plopping. And then the magic happens. Crank up the release. All right. Very beautiful. It's still the same sound. Let's save it under a different name and play around with the filter. I mean, why not? Again, no effects required. I think the long release time has a really a big, here on the envelope 1, big impact. It really creates a kind of natural reverb. But what can we do to turn this into a warm pad sound? A typical warm saw wave-like pad sound, which is always a beautiful thing, right? I play a chord. And this time I also want to change envelope too. Make it really slow. At this point, maybe it's a good idea to add more voices to the oscillators to make the pad even more beautiful. But again, that's totally up to you. I just leave it this way for the moment and try to create a lead sound. Well, when I say lead sound, I typically mean something I can play a melody with and add some chord accents or something like that. And what works really well in the higher register. That's very dreamful. Now let's listen to the very small change here in the attack time. Let's crank it down. Really, there is no attack at all. And a little bit more. I go with the second option, but you can see you can change a sound very, very quickly with only one click and make it not totally different, but give it a very, very different character. And also I think the long release time is very good for this lead sound here. Let's have a look at the second envelope. It doesn't do much for us, so let's bring it down. I like it, I like it. But here, this is really cool. Let's check out the glide function. That's always a nice effect. Not always, but I think in this case it could work. Let's crank it halfway up or something. Just a little bit, I think, is enough. I just realized it's way harder to make such a sound, such a simple sound, than it seems, because we are still only using two voices on that main oscillator and no effects. That's really uncommon, but I still believe it's a very good way working with simple sounds and make them fit into a track, because you still can go in every direction. And yes, it's easy to crank up all the delays and reverbs and whatnot. But making such a simple sound that's already beautiful, I think that is more of a challenge. But enough of that, let me have a sip of water, and then we are using an LFO to create a tremolo effect on our lead sound. Okay, LFO 1. Let's turn it into a sine wave and make it really fast, like a 16th note. Something like that, and sync it to the tempo. And now let's apply the LFO. Yeah, I don't know. I think the volume level of oscillator is a good idea, of oscillator 1. But I don't want to change the volume of oscillator 1. So I go into the negative area with the LFO, so that the sound always gets a little bit quieter than normally. Something like this. And I turn the tempo down to an eighth note so that you can hear the effect better. Okay. So here we go, my friends. I hope I could inspire you to open Vital and create your own set of simple sounds that all come out of one and the same basic sound, like our universal bass that I've created in this video here. Don't forget to save all your different presets. That's a good idea, I think. And try to go with as few voices as possible and no effects, okay? Just make it a game, have fun. And please don't forget to leave a like before you go, and a silly comment, of course. My name is Marcus, you've been watching The Ground Noise, and I hope to see you soon in the next one.